Hello, people. How's everyone doing? I'm adding in, I want to cover this real quick. It's going on right now. It's Citizen TV Kenya news outlet is doing a panel on the building collapses. So let's get into it. Let me know if you could hear.
Okay. Wisdom created agencies to supervise the built environment. And for me, I will always put this blame squarely at the agency because the law preempts there will be an engineer that wants shortcuts. The law preempts there will be an architect that is having shortcuts. The law preempts a developer that is having shortcuts. The onus is on the agencies mandated under the law to ensure they don't have their way. Just like when crime go up, we can't say that the robbers have a problem. We blame the police. So in my view, the gap we are seeing in the building collapse, for me, I mean, look at South Sea. South Sea building collapse that high. It is in our faces, every single person.
Hey guys,
for me,
the
problem we start dealing with here is the agencies. And we'll dive deep into probably later on what is the problem with the agency. Because for me, it is twofold. There's a problem with personnel and it's a problem of corruptions. But building collapse, we must squarely put it where it's supposed to be. We have a problem with authorities that we, the people in the Constitution, gave the mandate to supervise and ensure everyone that wants to have a shortcut, the architect, the developer, the construction manager, the contractor, do not have their way. Just like we gave the police the mandate to ensure that any person that wants to steal or rob should not have their way. For me, that is where we need to start before we come to what is the core problem of contractors and professionals in the sector. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us an overview of where we're coming from, the 52 deaths, the 7 deaths. Every life lost is a horrible situation, and you're putting the blame with the agencies. So we have an agencies problem, and supervision is not being done as it's supposed to be. But from where you sit, Emmanuel, what is the problem when it comes to the construction industry and sector in Kenya?
Thank you, Claire, and thank you, Nashan, for that overview. This is a very important discussion, and indeed we are sitting not in a very good space. When you check, since independence, we've had over 200 buildings collapsing, and just like he has listed some of the serious ones chronologically, that tells you something is wrong. From where I sit, I think we should approach this thing in a multifaceted way, and I'll break it down probably in at least 3 levels. And I'll start with the developer. When a developer wants to put up a construction, the developer has got duty of care to ensure that they engage registered consultants that are in good standing. So they need to do their due diligence and ensure that they're hiring people who are capable, people who are registered, and people who are reputable. The second duty of care must be with the consultants, and that includes the architects, the engineers, the quantity surveyors, project managers, everybody involved in that space. They must exercise duty of care to ensure that they have integrity to design well, integrity to run projects well, integrity to ensure that their clients, who are the developers, are abiding by the building codes, integrity to police the contractors and ensure that contractors are doing everything according to the book. And then the third line of defense, the people that must exercise duty of care are the contractors. Contractors must ensure that they build according to specification and as instructed. And I think an underlying problem, something that we must address, is greed and corruption. Because you'll find if you look critically at these three layers, you find at one point or the other, somebody somewhere succumbs to greed and succumbs to corruption and forgets that they have got a duty of care to the Kenyan public, duty of care to the human beings that they are designing and building these spaces for. So what happened to integrity? What happened to our conscience? What happened to our humanity? Why are we allowing compromise in those three layers? So I would want to approach it on those three levels, but at the core, address us as people and as Kenyans and say, we must have a conscience. We must have integrity in all our processes and in the way
It's
we
very
do things.
generic.
Probably we'll talk more on
I
that
hope we
later
get
as
into
we
details.
progress in the conversation. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you
you're
for
saying
that.
they're paying
So
the
an
inspectors,
issue
but
of
there was a stop
integrity,
order.
greed, and
These are
people
not
just not having
authorized,
that
so to
duty
say
of
it's
care.
corruption
But I want us
doesn't.
to now break it down.
If the inspectors are saying you can't build this, how are they being paid off?
Building in South Sea Nation. For our listeners to get deep, organic, and granular understanding of what an approval process looks like, take us through what the proper approval process for a multi-story building in Kenya looks like, and at what stages things can start to go wrong if shortcuts are taken.
Good question.
Thanks, Claire. You know, I really laughed when I saw the South Sea developers statement because evidently they didn't understand the approval process and they ended up exposing themselves.
So how's the corruption
some of the approvals
if they
got,
don't do it right?
if the dates they gave were true, were shoddy. Now, I mean, we really have some very lucid laws that governs the construction real estate sector. If there are any laws that we lack, they're probably very few that we need to strengthen things. The law requires that when you are developing, first of all, you need a change of use, approval change of use that is done at the county. Change of use will be, you have a land that is agricultural. You want to do an apartment, so you need to change use to reflect residential apartments. Or you have a land that is a single dwelling, you want to do apartments, you want to do mixed use. So it is a requirement that you first do a change of use on that land. And some of the approval process are what we call finish to start. In project planning, those who do project planning will tell you finish to start items in project planning means activity 1 must finish before activity 2 start. It's not a start to start. A must end before B starts. So that is a finish to start item. So most of the approval processes in the constructions are finished to start approval process. After change of use, you cannot get approval on architectural before you do change of use. So you do change of use, lodge your drawings through a registered architect to the county for approval by the county. One of the requirements that they will ask you is the very change of use that you should do. Once you've approved architectural, then you approve structural. You cannot approve architectural before. You cannot approve structural before architectural. I know in some counties, these drawings could be approved together, where you lodge the two drawings at the same time. But you're talking about Nairobi because it's South Sea. So you lodge architectural drawings, it is approved, and then you go for approval of structure. Again, finish to start. Once you have approved those two, usually NEMA will come in. And NEMA, if you look at the revised MCA Act, depending, is it a high-risk project, which are apartments above 100 units, or is it a low-risk project? Depending on what kind of approval you are looking, whether it is high risk or low risk. However, NEMA will require approved county drawings, both architectural and sometimes structural, as part of the requirements to get NEMA approval. If you look at the statement of South Sea, you realize that they got some of these approvals before the other. Now, once you've done NEMA approval, which again requires county approved drawings, then you go to the NCA, which is the last one. NCA will require all these other approvals. NCA will ask you for your county approved drawings, will ask you for the architectural drawings. NCA will ask you for NEMA before they give you the final certificate of compliance. Now, if you look at the South Sea project, you realize they were stating they got NEMA, they got NCA before NEMA. How? How did that happen? Because one of the requirements for getting NCA is an NEMA approval. It's just to tell you some glimpse picture of what's going on. Now, that is the law as it is. Most of the times, the whole of that process, there is a strict requirement of registered professionals to be involved. Registered architect under CAF 525, registered engineers by Engineer Board of Kenya, a registered EIA expert, a registered contractor by NCA. So we realize registration. What happens is most developers, these quack ones that makes buildings collapse most of the time, the only time they use the word registered is when getting approvals. Licenses are sold, and I've always said one of the keywords we need to have, I know we'll discuss it, is we need to criminalize the sale of professional licenses. Because in this town, there are architects, there are engineers, there are contractors in the business of selling licenses to unscrupulous developers to get approval and kill Kenyans. It needs to be a criminal offense. We cannot allow such people that we give you a license as a people, and then you sell that license at the market price to people who have nothing but to use your license for approval, and they go build themselves. So there's a lot of issues around those licenses that someone can get away with it in this city. In this city, there are offices in this city that sell professional licenses, and they are known. Architects, engineers, surveyors, contractors, selling licenses to people. 5,000 shillings, your drawing is stamped. Hey, to call license, go and get approval. That is one of the problems with professionals. So
they don't hold them
approval
accountable
is in that sequence.
If you're the
Now,
registered license
South Sea, for example, you begin to see, look at that statement
engineer,
again. Whatever
and the
I'm
building
describing
falls
to you,
down.
some of those approvals they got before the other. The issue
Shouldn't they-
is how did it happen? It's telling you it
You
is
lose your
screaming
license
shortcut.
at least, get
Shortcut with the
arrested.
developer and shortcut with the agency that approved. Because if you got NCA license before NEMA, who approved in NCA that license? Who gave the license if there is no NEMA? Because one of the requirements that you look for in the portal before approving is the NEMA license. So you start
We
to see
shouldn't
the
be able to
pattern
look
of
up who gave it
collusion
out.
between some of these people and the regulator. And that's why I say the biggest gap in my view is with that regulator. Thank you.
The regulator.
Thank you for that and bringing out quite a number of pertinent issues. Yes, that issue of the way or the manner in which.
Yeah, so the regulator should be going through and looking at who's registering and stamping for all these approvals, huh?
But you also mentioned something about registered professionals, and I want to rope in Emmanuel in this because, as we've heard, there are some professionals, or we wouldn't even call them professionals, who are hiring out their architects, their QSs for hire. So they just give their licenses out, and you're seeing projects with the same QS, the same architect for hundreds of projects, and you're wondering how they're able to do that. But Emmanuel, what do you think now from the architect's perspective is the problem when it comes to such issues of unscrupulous, handing out of licenses? Because there are people who still don't even understand what the use or the benefit of having some professionals is. Like in the case of an architect, that people will just think you guys just make drawings, and what is your need in a project? But you see cases like this, lives being lost, and you really realize the need for professionals. Talk to us about this unscrupulous hiring out of licenses and the need for each professional in this built environment. Unmute your mic.
It's a good question.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a very sad state of affairs, Claire. And let me just weigh in more on that. And that's why I was saying we approach this issue with all the might that we have and with every agency in the house. Like when we address consultants, every consultant must have that duty of care to ensure that they preserve the integrity of their name and the integrity of their firm. Do not allow your stamp or your name, your signature to be on a project that you have not designed and on a project that you're not going to supervise, oversee until occupation is granted for that building. And while saying that, I'm also addressing Kenyans. Kindly ensure that you do not just get somebody who is a draftsman. You know, this is happening a lot. People want cheap services. They go to draftsmen. They draft some simple building. And then because the draftsman cannot submit the drawing for approval by law, they want to take that drawing to a registered person to stamp for them. So everybody should address this issue of corruption head on. Consultants should not allow their names to be on projects that are not theirs. And Kenyans should avoid getting cheap services. They want cheap services, so they want now to go and have their the stamps purchased or bought. I like the way Nation has described the approval process, and if you realize over time, it's like it's closing in, and I'm hoping for a time when
I gotta answer this.
nobody will
Hold on.
be able to do anything that is not with integrity. Because you see, if you have approved, if you have submitted a drawing and it's been approved, the same person must be the one to supervise the project. The same person must be the one to issue an application for occupation. And the same person must be the one to get the occupation certificate before the building is occupied. Once we have all this in place, we will ensure that we weed out all this. But at the root of this, Claire, is corruption. At the root of this is greed. Clients who want to maximize profits, people who want to be used for a quick buck. But when you look at the sad events that have been happening, and my condolences to the families, especially that have lost loved ones, and then there are those that are having to deal with injuries that they may have for the rest of their life. Ever get. It is not good to have your name attached to a building that has maimed people, a building that has killed people. And there is even a more serious problem, Claire. There is the issue of collapsing buildings that we are discussing right now. There's even a more serious issue of what we call sick buildings. And I know this is not in the purview of our discussion today, but sick buildings are even more serious than these buildings that are collapsing. Again, the same issue. Integrity of design, integrity of implementation, integrity to just realize that you're designing for a human being. Then lastly, let me address the policing agencies. We've got the local authorities. Councils are supposed to visit sites. Once they give the license for approval, they are also supposed to come and send their own inspectors to see, to eat that what they approved is actually being done. This is not the responsibility of only the consultants. National Construction Authority is supposed to be a policing body. They're supposed to ensure that what is being done is what was submitted to them. NEMA should not allow stuff that is not permissible to happen in our spaces. So we've got NEMA, we've got NCA, we've got local authorities all over this country. Everybody should be on board and ensure that the right thing is being done. So unless we bring back that order, that statistic, which is very shocking, of 85% sick buildings, I can't even imagine. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. And we'll delve a little bit deeper into that. But Emmanuel, before I go back to Nation, And I saw Mutinda had joined, but he dropped off. Hopefully he'll be able to rejoin. For our listeners, just give a basic, concise overview of what a sick building looks like.
A sick building is a building, let me just use what a layman would understand. A building that has got poor lighting. If you live in poorly lit spaces, it will affect your health eventually, especially growing up children. A building that has got poor ventilation. Every building must have permanent ventilation, air flowing across day and night, and it must have ventilation that is such that you breathe healthy air throughout. A building that has got dampness in it. I've visited buildings in this city where parents are raising up children and there's mold on the floors, there's mold on the walls. Why? Because water is seeping from under the slabs or from the walls. Yeah, and so on. A sick building is a building that brings in smells or effluent from sewage. So issues of lighting, issues of ventilation, issues of dampness in the house, issues of foul smells, of poor environments. We have got so many sick buildings because we've got so many quacks in the industry that are doing their thing unbridled. And then we've got so many sick buildings because a lot of them do not have professionals involved in their design and implementation. So basically that's a sick building. And like I said, now that spills over into what we see, collapses. But what we don't see is actually even more potent and is going to affect us for quite a long time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I can see.
Allow me a second to just chime in on that sick building aspect, and in just 1 minute. Some of us have been recently looking at Eastlands, for instance, and I want to bring the aspect of sick buildings and looking at it in an aspect of how we are probably disenfranchising children. And probably in future, I'm not a prophet, but in future, there could be a class action against county in terms of sick children with a lot of rickets because they can't access sunlight. And you look at the patterns on a lot of buildings in Eastlands, sunlight is becoming a luxury, and yet we are on the tropics. Okay, and we are raising children in these environments where now children must get a lot of vitamin D. Yet we are in this, tablets of vitamin D, yet we are in the tropics. We are killing our population. It's a health issue as well, if you look at it in that aspect, because rickets that was sometimes dealt with in the past, and I was speaking to a doctor late last year, it's coming back. And why? Because the person we gave authority to just approve buildings in the right way, ensure there is ventilation and light, is sleeping on the job. And what is it doing? It's now disenfranchising and killing a lot of children in future in some parts of this country. And the same trend is now going into parts of parklands because buildings can't access sunlight, just sunlight that is free of charge. So if you can't access sunlight that's free of charge, as a city, when are we going to access the payable water, the payable power? It is a big problem with these buildings. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's actually a health issue because, as you said, yeah, many pediatricians are starting to say rickets is making a comeback because there's no vitamin D. Buildings, apartments, you're looking face to face. There's no sunlight. There's no nothing. So it's sick buildings, as Emmanuel said, and that is a whole other conversation that we could delve deep into. But for now, I can see Mutinda has rejoined. Just confirm you can speak, Mutinda. Unmute your mic.
What I'm listening for, guys, is like the process and where the process is failing.
Okay, as he sorts that out and tries to unmute his mic on his end, Nashan, speak to us a little bit about the role each person in this built environment plays.
Yes.
You spoke to it a little bit, as did Emmanuel, but sometimes people start asking themselves, are some roles overlapping, or what is the use and what is the function of different professionals in this industry? So talk to us. Okay, You're a construction project manager. What do
If
you
you
do?
understand how
What
it
does a
works,
contractor do?
it will help
What
you
is the role of
protect
the overall
yourself
developer, then the QS, and the critical players that
when
make
you're looking
sure
into
that the
things.
final building we have is actually good, structurally sound, is not sick, and has all the things that it needs to tick?
Thanks, Claire. I mean, as I said earlier, if you look at our country and our sector, we are probably an envy of a lot of our neighbors in terms of professionals that we have here. Because we are one of, for example, we are one of the countries that among our neighbors, I know Uganda has that also trains construction managers. It's only us, Uganda, South Africa, and Nigeria. Those are 4 countries only. So we are quite ahead in terms of professionals.
Everyone's so indirect.
An architect usually is the lead consultant because he takes the lead role in architectural matters. So if you're doing an apartment, for example, or residential house, even with the project manager, because sometimes we conflate the meaning of a project manager with the lead consultant. The architect on architectural matters, architectural project, remains the lead consultant, even with the project manager, because what they focus on are totally different. So the architect is the lead consultant. For example, in South Sea project, that's a residential, the architect is the lead. So it takes, and usually, if you practice, you realize everyone follows the architect. The architect's drawing is always fast. Then the structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, and the QS comes last to do cost. So the architect is the lead, and usually with a license on architectural matters. You have a structural engineer that is in charge of structure. So once the architect has designed, the engineer, structural, mechanical, electrical, will follow the architect's drawing. And in what I would say, they make the building work. The architect has a dream. The engineer will make it, structural engineer will make it sound, it can stand. It's buildability, it's possible to be built. Mechanical will give it the plumbing, the water issues, the solar and all that. Electrical engineer will give it the power and all that. The QS comes in to help us with costings and to cost the building, to know what is the cost of the building. And throughout the process, the QS is involved in a lot of valuations of payments, financial appraisals and all that. And if you have a project manager, they are concerned mostly with the triple constraints: time, cost, and quality. The project needs to be on time with the right quality and needs to be finished on budget.
Someone's name
So those
is
are the
on the
professionals. And then you have
approvals.
the contractor that I always say, despite everyone's desire to build, only the contractor
And everything has
licensed by
different
NCA
steps.
under the law is required to build. So this wonderful design that is done must be built by someone called the contractor.
So
the
why can't you
contractor
go
work
down the
is
line
execution. However, they don't
and
execute
find the
in
breakdown in
a
the
vacuum.
system?
There are a lot of inspections required. As Emmanuel correctly stated, the architect, the engineer, all these consultants are involved in the daily supervision of this work. So there's a lot of approval that is required, site inspections of all these professionals until a building is complete. And by the way, even during that execution process, it is a requirement that even the county inspectorate needs to visit and also inspect.
Yes.
Usually for me on my site, I tell the contractor, invite the county to also come and inspect. It's a requirement so that they also see what's going on.
So
If
there
you
should
have
be a paper
professionals
somewhere that
that
says,
are open
on this
book,
day,
this will
with
be
a
followed.
stamp,
Then you have the
I
you have the
inspected
developer
this property
that
for
pays
this,
everyone. And Claire, one of
you
the
know,
problems we have in this sector,
structure, fire,
I know I've said
lighting,
we have a lot of good
ventilation.
laws, but one of the laws we need, okay?
So
We have
who approved
regulated
the thing
everyone
that
in the built
failed?
environment, everyone,
And
except
who
the person
was
that pays
the
everyone.
planner,
And that's the
engineer, and the
developer.
execution of that?
And I'm not saying we
I
need to,
think it's
we
that
need to
simple.
strangle the people who need to develop, no. But if you go to, if you understudy countries like Dubai, India, the UK, I mean, there is some aspect of who can develop. And for in our
Great
country,
comment.
it is for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I can wake up tomorrow, do a billboard, pay primetime news, and I'm a developer, I'm collecting money. We need to have some regulation allow that, so that there's some foolproofing of the person who can really be developer, because that is one of the gaps we have.
Just
Development in this
regulate the
country
actual
is not
construction.
regulated. We need to tie in some.
It is
rules.
regulated.
So basically, those will be the roles. In it, there are a lot of inspections by inspectorates. NCA comes to site, NEMA comes to site regularly. There's a lot of work. If everyone plays their
See,
role
but in this comment,
in the built environment, a building cannot
Your
collapse.
license is
When a
really
building collapse,
important in a lot of places. So
some
if you
or all
do
of those
something
people played a
wrong,
part. Thank you.
if your plans fail, you're
Thank
going to
you
lose your
for
license.
that.
You'll
So
never be
yeah,
able to do it
there,
again. So no one,
everyone needs to play their part.
no one's
I'll
gonna,
check
like,
on Mutinda if
scam.
he's able to speak, but Emmanuel, I want to speak to you.
you
National has
lose,
told us
like I have a real estate
architects are
license.
the lead consultants in a project.
If I
Very
if I
many
lose
times we
it,
see
I can't do business
developers
anymore.
altering designs midway, mid-construction, they decide to change something. So just like the South Sea issue that's happening there, who should legally take blame when changes are made to a project midway, for whatever reason that is?
Well, that is a very interesting question, Claire. Now, just like National said, it's unfortunate that developers or clients tend to be unregulated, yet the rest of us are under strict laws and strict codes of conduct. But in a normal
Because you're
construction
the professional that's
contract
approving the
process, where the architect is the lead consultant, the client gives instructions to the team through the architect, and many times through the structural engineer, but the architect is the lead consultant. So again, let me address us as consultants. We are supposed to be having such integrity and such confidence in what we are doing in such a way that when we are being given the wrong instruction, we are supposed to say no. Yeah, and
Well,
I know I'm speaking
that's how
to
things
some of
work.
us that are younger in the profession on this call,
If you say
and
yes, you
others
lose your
probably our
license if
peers
something
or
bad
older.
happens.
But we
That's
must
how it
be
should work.
able to put our feet down and say no to instructions that are not right. For example, you have designed an 8-story building. The engineer has gone through the process of doing the foundations. After doing the testing of the soil, we normally do geotechnical tests. We test the soil, we do the right kind of foundations. Then we've done the foundations, we've started the building, and it has reached the 8th floor. Then somebody decides they want to do 3 or 4 more floors. What do you do as an architect? The first port of call is your engineer. Make sure that your structural engineer does a proper structural audit of what he has done. And if he does his structural audit and says that this building cannot hold 2 or 3 more floors, you say no. And you must say no. You must ensure
And if you say
that
yes,
this is in
and the building
writing,
falls
this
down,
is
you
advised
lose your
to
license, and you
everybody.
probably should go to jail.
And I know there are situations where the developer, because they
quite
are the
simple.
people paying, they will overrule you. I think every profession must have the spine to walk away from that job, resign, and report
Exactly, Saif.
to the relevant authorities. We've
Just
got the
regulate the
National
professionals
Construction Authority.
that hold the
You can report it
licenses.
there. You've got the local authority that is overseeing this specific construction. When you say no to this, it must be put on record. You've got the
This is what I don't understand.
registration bodies like the Board
There's a
of
paper that
Registration of
says
Architects and Quantity Surveyors. We've got
there's a building, this building is approved for 8 stories. And at the final approval, the inspector goes there and there's 13 stories. How do they approve it at that point? And if they're approving it, straight to jail.
so advice upwards. You are the lead consultant. And the reason why you are a structural engineer on the project is because you must ensure that you guard the integrity of your structure. So instructions come from developers through the architect and the engineers, but these instructions must be vetted. These instructions must be correct. They must follow the building code. And I've just given you one example of adding to a building substantially midway. You must never accept that until a proper audit is done. Other instructions happen. For example, it may not necessarily bring the building down, but it will alter the very composition of the building. You'll find somebody blocking walls, doors, knocking off this, putting this, that, and it comes up to completely different from what you designed. So you must say no. There are many cases where architects have said no. And if a developer is reasonable enough, they will actually follow your lead. Because you see, our aim is not to stifle you. Our aim is to protect you while having duty of care to those people that you're designing for. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. So you need to remember that professionals are not there to stifle you. It's for your protection. I can see there are a number of requests to speak. They have been coming in. Let me just sample one or two, and then we continue with the conversation. And then if time allows, I'll allow another one to speak. So Howard, make your comment or ask your question in under 1 minute. Then we can continue with another listener and then continue the conversation.
I want to ask what the fundamental breakdown is.
Unmute your mic.
Like, what's the one
Thank
thing
you,
that can make
Claire.
it better?
I've been following through. I've been listening to the presentations, and there is great learning.
Exactly, sure.
However, without having to repeat what the speakers have already said, maybe the issues that lead us to collapse of buildings, I will maybe try to highlight just one that I think has been left out. And this one is ignorance. Our society doesn't seem to know what services they're supposed to receive from an architect, what services they should receive from an engineer, what services they're supposed to receive from a QS. And I want to give an example. And Claire, allow me to use you as the host of this meeting. The core of the building, the person solely responsible to keep a building standing is the engineer. We can mention all the other professionals, but the person responsible for the building to have structural integrity is the engineer. They say that everybody's responsibility is nobody's responsibility. The architects have their roles, and I think they have elaborated well. I will not repeat. Nation has elaborated the role of a project manager, and they have also elaborated the role of a QS. But the role of the engineer is purely to keep the structure standing and to make the structure to carry all the load.
Yeah, but Martina, my complaint about this kind of stuff is that people trying to make money are always going to cut corners. Well, the system should be structured in a way that you're not able to do so very easily. Harder said than done with all the different issues or problems, but you know, I think the biggest thing is how can you make sure that the professionals are doing what they're supposed to be doing and that people aren't deviating from the plans, and if you do need to change the plans, that it's recalculated for the loads and everything is done properly and properly approved, and the people are inspecting and enforcing the issues. So whether it's Somali, Chinese, whoever the developer is, they have to follow the rules, and there's not loopholes and ways around it. That's what I'm trying to understand here.
So before we even get to corruption, we have a problem of ignorance. Now, ignorance can be fixed in different ways. One of them, like now what you're doing, allowing a platform for people to discuss and bring this to the light. This might be at a lower scale, but perhaps I would say the biggest problem and the challenge that we faced with our professions is that, especially engineering, I think other professions like architects, they make noise, lawyers, they're noisy, doctors, they're noisy. Engineers thought that keeping quiet is stylish. So for a long time, they assumed that people should just discover on their own that they need engineers. The visibility, they are not vocal. The visibility of engineers, of these professionals,
when you go to try to build,
has for a long time been near zero.
Have the engineers.
It's only in the very recent past.
Summarize your points. Summarize your point.
It's only in very recent past that perhaps people have started trying to make efforts to be visible, but we are not there yet. we need to fix that problem that I just highlighted there, the problem of general public ignorance and the fact that the public they just don't know, and they genuinely don't know that there is this skill set that they require in making their projects work.
Yeah, but how do you build it without knowing that?
Thank you for that. The issue of ignorance and yes, engineers being required. The next conversation, I will have one on board, but I can see our time is running out fast. I want to find out if Mutinda is able to speak now. If you are, just unmute your mic.
Good evening, Claire. Yes, I believe I am. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. So you've been listening to the conversation. I want you to address two things. From what you've been hearing, what have been the biggest issues you find in the built environment when it comes to this issue of collapsing buildings? And then the second thing I want you to address is, being the president of the Institute of Quantity Surveyors of Kenya, what are some of the most urgent reforms that you would like to see in the sector so that we don't continue hearing this issue of buildings collapsing, sick buildings that have not been approved going up?
Okay, thank you. I'll just go on quickly because I've listened to the entire, not the entire, big part of the discussion. And there are two issues really. There is sick buildings to the extent of collapsing, and there are sick buildings that are existing. So the major problem from our setting is now the collapsing buildings that cost us lives. But all of it stems from the sickness, and the sickness comes from the design, the approval, the way we are doing things in construction. We seem to want to now look at the sick buildings as a lesser evil because lives are still maintained and people are living. And I did hear someone talking of people developing or children developing conditions, rickets and what.
I think a solution to sick buildings is people won't live in them. Like you do have a choice. So a building and has no lighting, maybe don't move there. So I don't think I think you just want to, at least at the bare minimum, we want to make sure that the buildings, if they're good, it's maybe step 2 or 3, right? If you want to build a bad building and no one wants to buy the market, will take care of that. So I don't really see why this keeps getting brought up.
Borrow each other salt from across the balconies, buildings that are so close to each other.
Who cares when the building? If you're scared,
but they are not.
If you're scared the building's going to fall down, who cares? Let's tackle the building.
So the whole issue then stems from even us,
not how close they are to each other.
Such buildings and take them to site even before they. Yes, they'll go through approval, which is another level of check.
Just make a certain level of standards.
Perspective and conception. Where would we as professionals get that point?
It needs this much
we allow that to go to site.
Lighting. The windows need to be this big in every property.
Site, and we stand there and oversee.
Then you got to enforce it. You got to inspect it.
The big issues in collapsing buildings.
And then if they don't do it, you got to hold people accountable.
We have totally lost integrity. We've lost our ethical values. Some of us as consultants and as developers, in that we have put profits and money way above people, and it's that kind of mindset of chasing after money, at all costs. This level of greed that
people won't do
everything else ceases to matter, because we have laws. We have laws that dictate.
Hey, you approved this, and it fell down, and you were responsible. Jail.
And these are not laws that are new. It's always been there.
Now, if you're saying that's the corruption,
in other countries, they're done everywhere. Then are we different? Why do we choose to do this as though we are building cardboard houses, and that tomorrow we'll demolish this and do them afresh again? You see the case of South Sea, where guys just plan to, place floors on top of each other like slices of bread, with no care on what could happen. So we're in a situation where we really need a total rethink.
Oh. I don't know why I drop out sometimes. Hold on.
Proved in the recent past. We can pick a period, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and do an audit, a thorough audit of what is what, and especially the ones that have gone to site. First of all, stop all approvals and rethink and look at everything afresh.
Highly
For me, that
recommend it.
it sounds radical.
Semaglutide,
The way to
Wegovy
go
isn't
to
as
first
good
just
though.
see how can we take ourselves back to the tracks. Of course, the other thing is and it's been mentioned, is us following the laws. As consultants, we are regulated, and there are laws that we follow. And it's been mentioned, contractors are regulated, but
His point, he's like, people should follow the law, obviously.
so that these people who carry the money, and it's often said that he
Is that me?
Mutinda is breaking up there. We'll
I
see
hate
if
when
he's
you do
able
panels and
to.
then people just
a role
say
to play,
obvious
but they
things.
must do these things right. We must observe the
Oh,
laws,
really?
even as we try and stand up against them. And we're trying to stand up against them
Yeah,
in
that's
an
what I'm saying.
environment
Let's see the
even us as
report.
consultants, bona fide consultants, are competing with quacks and
And
other
this is the thing, you
and other
undermine
people.
all your own integrity when you come out with that
And
claim,
you
and
find
then
someone who is
it sounds ridiculous.
not properly qualified or practicing outside the law, charging ridiculous fees, and that person is
Yeah,
supposed to
because they're not
compete
getting
with
to
a
the
regulated
point.
person. So we find now it's a race to the bottom. That I would rather charge very little, but then
I don't know why you're blaming the
cut
Chinese.
down
I
on
don't think the Chinese
services
have
that I
had
give.
any
So the whole thing
collapse.
around remuneration and around all these
And
problems.
you saying
Also,
diasporans,
because
you
I
think
had
these
one
people
of the
know
panelists say,
build houses?
can
They
we
don't.
as consultants then stand up to the developer?
You need the engineers,
Here is a quack or a consultant who
the
is
architects
living hand to mouth.
to do things properly.
Do they stand up for the law first, or do they stand up do they put what they are going to get first? That
This
you're
is what
told,
they haven't answered.
we are breaking this law, then you're making money out of it.
In the South
So
Sea
we must
collapse,
start by
they
looking at all
told them
these
to
things,
stop
because
building.
the consultants in the built environment are very
So they
few.
are enforcing it.
If things are done right, they'll earn properly, they regain their confidence
And guys,
integrity,
I'm
and
going
then
off
they
of
can
like
be able to stand up
what I think
to
I
wealthy
know, and I'm not
developers.
sure, but it's very
Without that,
frustrating
we are
because
in a
why
space
is
where they
no?
are competing
Can we get to the point?
for these projects with unregulated people who are
What's
willing to
up?
charge anything really.
American
Then you find
nature.
it will be. For me, I think it will be a losing battle.
JC,
That
you're not
this
correct.
is
The
it's the
Chinese
same analogy
are
that is
highly
given.
rated
If you
generally,
find someone who's
and
stuck
you shouldn't rank them
and you're carrying
based
the
off
gospel
of
or the
nationality.
Quran, will you first preach to them or give them food?
This guy is just
Yeah?
talking.
These are individuals who have gone to school,
Not you. I'm
but
the
they need
guy
to make a
talking.
living. Some of them, it is that it's dire and they need the money. So would they stand up for the law first, or would they charge to get a meal and place a meal on the table? So the whole issue around this revolves around the law, observing the law, but observing the law requires, especially for the consultants, to be at a level where they are remunerated for whatever they do, and therefore, when they are properly regulated and the industry is well protected, because that's how they'll be guaranteed of remuneration.
If I'm the signing
then they can stand up,
engineer
and they can stand up to the developers who want really
and
to
they
do
built the
anything
building based off of what I
to make
said,
extra
and it
coins.
falls down,
I don't know whether I've responded
they
to your
can never
questions
do
clear,
anything again.
but that
Or
would
go
be
to
the thing.
jail and lose a license.
Okay, thanks for that. So an overhaul is needed because, as you said, it becomes a race to the bottom, and professionals competing with quacks does not make sense. Now, time is bad, but out of what one of the listeners had spoken about, Howard, this issue of ignorance, there are a lot of listeners here who may be thinking about the property sector. Okay, we've talked about sick buildings, collapsing buildings. As a layperson, and I'll give this to Nashon. Nashon, you have written books around this. Don't buy that house, and so on
It's
and so forth.
impossible.
What would you?
How do I know how many pillars and how wide the pillar should be in the cement mix of the structure of this building? That's why you need the government and enforcement on checking the things as they're building it. There's no way to know that.
But look, there are certain red flags that any buyer quickly, And now sometimes
My solution to this problem is that you look at developers that have built multiple projects before and they haven't fallen down and they still look good and aren't showing signs that they're wearing fast or concrete's cracking or they have bad lighting, et cetera, et cetera. You just got to look at their track record because as an individual, you can't, there's no way to be able to inspect these properties to the degree that you, to know if they're structurally sound. So as a consumer, the best thing that you can do is find the most reputable developers within the industry and only deal with them because you can't be sure of anyone else because there's clearly problems in the system. So if you're going to buy from a first-time developer or somebody that doesn't have a track record, anything can happen. And sure, yeah, you can look at the property and get a general sense of if the workmanship's good or not. But when you do an architectural design for 18-story building, the pillars are a certain size and they use certain materials. And if you deviate from that, it can crash just like a plane if they use the wrong materials or don't make it to the specifications that it needs to be, it's going to crash. And there's all these points at which these things are inspected when you're building something. And if that's not happening, which I still don't know if it's happening or not happening in Nairobi with the building, then I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell. You need to do a risk assessment exercise. I mean, then everyone, like, you're going to hire an independent engineer. Just because the developer has good buildings doesn't mean it's up to safety standards. Okay. Then you tell me.
clear red flags. And we're not saying that a project cannot be added, a floor cannot be added. It's possible to add an additional floor on top of an existing. It is possible. But there's a procedure of how it should be done. And when you bought a project where they're adding a floor, I know of some, I won't say it, we are on national space. There's a project in Parklands here. All the buyers are in arbitration with the developer. They bought 12 floors, they found 15. And that project has had consultants. And that project got an occupation from the county. Okay? So those are the basic checks. Projects that do not comply, they are not statutory approvals, no registered professionals. The contractor is in questions. And there are those clearing red marks where a developer is a contractor. I mean, why can't he de-risk the project by giving an independent contractor? Red flags clear. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Good points to take note of. Now, as we wrap up this conversation, I will continue having these conversations because we cannot exhaust everything in this 1 hour space. But I'd like to get some closing comments from Emmanuel. Is there any other thing that you'd like to add on red flags, and also just give your closing comments on how to move forward to ensure that this issue of collapsing buildings do not continue to recur?
Claire, thank you. As I close, let me just note this to our listeners. First, in our space, we have a maxim. This maxim says, do it right the first time, because there's never a second time. So I'm speaking to myself, I'm speaking to my fellow consultants, I'm speaking to contractors, developers, students, everybody, Kenyans. Do it right the first time, because there may never be a second time. Sometimes when you're talking about the second time, you're talking about a collapsed building, you're talking about a lost life or a maimed life. Secondly, let me say, a building never lies. So we may think that you're taking shortcuts in the foundation, but a month or a year or 3 years down the line, the building will just come and expose you. So this is a call to integrity. This is a call to us going back to
What's up, Felix?
check what our consciences
Black
are
Fire Media,
saying
what's going
as
on?
architects, engineers, QSs, surveyors, construction project managers, developers.
Yo, man.
Okay, let me speak to developers.
I don't like
developers,
lumping
please
everybody in one group. I'm not
take
with that.
shortcuts with your money. It is
Good and
ridiculous
bad
that
people
somebody would
everywhere.
have 10, 20, 30 millions to invest, but they cannot spare only 1 million for consultants. Yeah. Kenyans, we've got an issue with appreciating consultants. It's just like when you're sick in your body, you would go to a doctor who is trained. If you've got 50 million to invest in a project, for God's sake, involve registered consultants and
Why don't
pay
you
them their due. That 1 or
make
2
them
million
do
you're
that?
saving can end up being
How can you
a
build a building
loss of
without
hundreds of
registered
millions
people?
in litigation, in lost lives, and so on.
Oh, he's saying consult.
The regulatory authorities, again, integrity. Let us have integrity in approval processes.
Is
Let
he a
us have
consultant?
integrity in accepting or rejecting developments. Let us make sure that we show up on sites. Let us make sure that we ensure that what we have approved is actually coming up. It is shocking, Claire,
So
on many of our sites,
exactly. I
them
agree
to
with
come
this.
and see what you're doing. So it is up to
That's why you need
the
the
consultants to have
system
the integrity to
be in
ensure
a
they
way to
document the
ensure that
building
you
properly
cannot build something
and
in an
register
unsafe
it
way.
with
It's
the council
inspected
again before
and
getting
enforced
occupation certificates.
and
But
reviewed
local
properly.
authorities, the National Construction Authority, NEMA
I was
must
hoping
show
that would
up on
be
these sites to ensure
the nature of this
that
conversation.
things are being done
Okay.
right regularly. Thank
I
you.
don't know if you're finished,
Everybody's
Emmanuel,
just
or
saying
it's,
whatever.
Thank you. Yes, I'm done.
I can't hear you properly.
Santi's
Yes,
trying to
I think I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
a
you. Thank you for
moderator.
that. So as you said, indeed, people are putting in millions and millions. So just invest and get a proper professional, because it saves you a lot of problems down the line, litigation and so on and so forth, and lives, of course. And last but not least, QS Mutinda, what would be your closing comments from the QS perspective?
First, maybe just generally clear is it's never too late to turn around things that are going wrong. I think for us it's possible. We can now put an end. Say too many lives lost on collapsing buildings. Let's now do an about turn. Let's do things differently. Let's do things better, because there are countries, there are cities where this does not happen. So it's never too late. I was talking to someone from Nigeria.
You're
He
the
was telling me this
professional.
used to be the order of the day.
Tell
like,
us what
but they're
needs
able
to
to
be
catch it,
done.
and now it's a thing of the past in their city. So it's possible
We
for
need
us.
to
We
do
can do it.
better.
We know where the problems are. We know where the rain started beating us, where it beats us hardest from. We know, the
Follow the
approvers
law.
and what have you, the
Have
works in this
integrity.
town, and the issue of managing our developers. I've even talking about developers, Claire. Why do we have two developers associations in one country? I guess that can be a subject for another day, so that we start. Why are they, profiled into two groups? Why do we have two associations? And I think
You
those are
still putting people in
some of the
jail.
problems.
They'll make sure the building ain't gonna
We've
fall down.
let
Right?
our industry run wild.
You
We
gotta
cannot even,
hold the right
in an
person
orderly manner, have.
accountable.
And these are lobby groups. Why are they two, for instance? And I think there are many other issues that we need to deal with. And the issues are, we all know what the issues are. Right from approvals, right from us consultants, the contractors we've had are regulated. They ought to be technical people. You cannot raise a building, do such works when you're merely a businessman. But that seems to be the case in our town. So these are all these things that we can resolve. But my parting shot is that it's never too late to start doing things right. Let's get hold of the regulators. Let's have integrity as people, so that you don't sit in a building, and when you sit in your building raking millions, this building killed so many people. Is there honor? Is there honor in such an attack? Yeah. My take is that let's go back to the drawing board. Let's pause. In fact, I would say let's pause new approvals as early as now, as early as tomorrow, and let's rethink this.
Long enough.
Do things
The
better.
thing that confuses me when
Thank you for
I
that. So
say
it's
this
never too late to start doing the right thing.
is with like the South Sea situation, there was a work stop order on the building. And I'm assuming you need to clear that before you would be able to start selling and get the certificate of habitability or occupation. It's called something different here. Or what all of a sudden it magically at the end gets approved, even though there's records of things not being approved. I don't understand how something can go from work stop order to approval at the end. That's what I'm not understanding, because everyone says, oh, they just pay them. But who are they paying and at what point? Because the evidence has been showing that these things are not approved. It's not, you see, if it was approved and it falls down, then you say, who approved this when it was unsafe? But if it's not approved and it's unsafe, then I would say the developer is the one going rogue. And again, I don't really know. I've looked into this a lot. I've been reading a lot about it because that's why we're on this call. I was hoping to get more information. It's so like the information is cloudy, and we're just getting generic. Oh, it's corruption. Oh, people are paying. Oh, people don't have integrity. What? These are not serious conversations. Yeah, they should. Accountability.
If Nation wants to take a shortcut in my blasphemous greed, the authorities must be able to stop me so that they protect Kenyans from being killed in this sector. So for me, let us start there. Let us start with who approved is South Sea building. You know, up to now, there's no one who has taken responsibility. No one has been fired. Building came up, innocent lives lost. Nobody has been fired. There's no precedent to be told so and so was an officer from county, the chief officer for enforcement. They're sitting pretty in their offices while you continue to lose lives. It cannot be so. People must be held responsible. And for me, let us start from authorities and then we go back to who are these professionals. We must start from somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Indeed, we must start from somewhere and people need to be held to account so that people know that there is a price to be paid for doing the wrong thing. Thanks so much. Our time is out. In case you missed any part of this conversation, remember you can catch the replay on.
Okay, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I know it was on short notice. I wasn't sure if I was going to have time to hop on here and do this. And it was kind of hard for me to give any input other than listening to the situation. I didn't really learn too much. My summary is, I still am more confused or the same confused. Like, why weren't these people held accountable? Is that corruption? Who are they paying? Who are the people that can hold them accountable? How are these things being approved or are they not being approved? Because if they're not being approved, then to say that the oversight's not working is not really true. Maybe it's the enforcement after they say, hey, stop working, and they keep building it, and then no one goes and looks at it and says, hey, they're still building over there. You know, it'd be nice to see maybe someone put in charge of some kind of oversight on the construction approval system that's independent of all these people so that they can look into it further. I don't know. You know, I don't know anything. I'm just shooting out thoughts and ideas, but again, I've been doing a lot of research and I still don't have the basis of understanding. For me as a consumer, the way that I'm going about this, I'm not overly concerned about it with the safety, although it is a concern. Again, the best thing I can do is work with developers that have a prestigious or higher track record, that have been in the business and I look at all their past projects and see that they have done, from what I can tell, is a good job. Someone was recommending we hire our own engineer to look at the property. That could seem very costly, and there's probably still things that they're not able to find. So, I mean, obviously it's a good safety precaution to do that, but I don't think that's a realistic solution for most people. So, you know, we'd like to see the system get better, but I mean, how can we know that? So as we just have to look at things as far as a consumer. And as a consumer, I think the things that are collapsing, although the building in Karen was kind of looked like a bigger house that they were building that was probably kind of costly. So I was going to say it looks like the lower income or mid-income type of things where you're going to see these issues. But I don't know if that's necessarily true either. But I find it hard to imagine that a developer that has five developments that all look good to me looking at, all of a sudden is going to have a catastrophic safety issue. But I mean, these things do happen. There's all kinds of safety precautions with air travel, and sometimes planes crash, very rarely actually, but these things can happen. There are oversights, there's issues. So, you know, I'm going to always pay attention to this issue. Hopefully while I'm here, maybe I'd love to talk to some people that are knowledgeable about the approval process, because really that's my concern, is like, where is the breakdown of the oversight? Are they going to really want to talk about it, especially if, you know, there's all this corruption and there's all this money, and you mess with people's money in high places or in powerful places, all of a sudden weird stuff starts happening. It happens in the US too. So you start, you know, smacking the beehive, kicking the beehive, bees come out. So I understand why some people may not want to speak about it. I think that's really all I got right now. I'm sorry I missed the live. You know, I've been on a super, super strict diet. I've been working out. I've been super healthy. And coming here with the jet lag and the disruption to my routine, I've been kind of out of commission since I've been here. I have not gone anywhere outside of my building the whole week since I've started traveling and gotten here. So I'm trying to get over to Pandora because I feel like they did a really good job and it looks nice. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I want to get to and a whole bunch of business going on. I think you guys hear my messages. That's certain stuff in the US, whatever. I'm going to try to get to the content as soon as possible, but I've just been like jet lagged. And then when you eat different food, your stomach is out. It's just like a combination of stuff. I'm feeling kind of beat up with low energy. So I'm trying to get my energy up and get out there and do stuff. The other thing is I haven't driven in a while here, and I'm used to driving in the US. So I'm a little hesitant. I need to do some like short trips before I start getting out and about again. So that's pretty much everything I got going on. I wonder what you guys take away from this is. I appreciate everyone's contributions. You know, I hope you don't take offense when I'm challenging what you're saying. I'm just trying to elevate the conversation and get more specific, because you see, a lot of these people are just talking in generalizations. What the heck does any of that mean? What was useful from that conversation, you know? Remember, there's no emergency services. Yeah, you're on your own. See, I mean, that's the thing about being out here. You know, you're out here and you need to look out for yourself. And that's why you can't rely on the government to inspect the buildings. And that's why when I'm going through, I look at all the developers' buildings and see like, hey, is the concrete cracking anywhere? Like, what's this? Are they maintaining the building? What's going on? Same thing with driving. Hey, make sure you got, you know, I have the 4x4 truck so I don't get stuck. And if there is an accident, it's a little bit safer than a smaller car, which I was thinking about getting before, just like a cheap little car to drive around. But you're on your own, so be smart. People from the West walk around and act like they have some protective bubble around them. They'll just be doing like, you know, like even whatever's going on in Minnesota, people are going after people with guns. The police, like, they're screaming in their face. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Like, these people do have guns. Like, I know that you think the rules will protect you, but when you come here, the rules are not going to protect you. You're on your own. Have common sense. Don't do stupid things. And you got to look out for yourself. And I've had that mentality since I've been here. And I kind of like it to some degree. Obviously, I don't like that, you know, you might not feel like a building can be safe, but the freedom that you have is a good thing. And so I hope that the systems are able to improve without restricting the openness, because things don't get built in the US because the amount of regulation and the cost and zoning and all these rules. Like I know in California, they're trying to build high-speed rail and it's costing like $1 million or 10 million per mile to build the rail, which is an insane cost, right? So we have the opposite problem in at least in the US. I don't know what's going on in the UK or whatever, but it's so costly and there's so many government people and agencies and such that you need an approval. That is like I flip houses. I've lost money on a house just because they took so long to give us permits and we would have so many issues and we would be losing money over that time. It delayed our project like 6 months. And we didn't even fail any inspections. It's just that the inspector's on vacation. Then oh, we didn't have the right paperwork. Oh, someone wasn't there, and then things drag on. So that's what's going on pretty much. Yeah, drive when I'm well rested. Yeah, I haven't been feeling up to doing anything, to be honest. The corruption goes up too far. The people responsible for enforcing are taking a cut. They won't fire themselves. Yeah, that is the problem. Or I'm not saying that's the problem, but if it goes that high, it's hard to get rid of, right? For your energy, start juicing. See, but then now you got to poop a lot. This isn't new. I have found this from 2023. What's not new? The building situation. I mean, coming into this, I would assume that the oversight of building construction is probably not as good. That's probably why I harp on things, although many of the things are cosmetic. When you're looking at a building like this, you're not going to know if there's a structural problem. Enjoying being back overall, the apartment thing is concerning. Yeah, I am enjoying being back. I got a little bit of, a little bit of drama I got to take care of. And my energy's been bad. But there's what it is, like, there's so many things I want to do. And my energy's been so low. So I've been like tripping out a little bit. I think I need to just chill out and relax until I'm ready to do what I got to do. And, because again, like I want to go to the coast. We got to go to Kisumu. I want to get these interviews. I want to there's a whole bunch of new projects that came out and I want to make the content better. I've been thinking about different ways of doing the content as far as like the home tours and looking at the properties. I didn't know if I wanted to make the videos shorter. I don't know. There's maybe a way to format them a little bit better, the videos. I don't know. I've been thinking about a million things. My head's exploding. Maybe talk to a couple of design professionals over there, starting with an architect. Yeah, I would like to talk to some architects, some quality surveyors, such those type of people. Keep a low profile to above everything. What? New builds in the UK are held together with bubble gum and really? Get into the sun, vitamin. Yeah, I've been sitting on the balcony. That actually does help a lot. Vitamin D is a big thing. That's why people get depressed in the States, in the States in the wintertime, because the sun, you get no sun. No, Ryan, not cleansings. There's a documentary on it by an Australian guy. Keep on your diet and add juicing. Yeah, I'm trying to lose 25 more pounds. I lost 25 pounds when I was in the States for 3 months, when I did, the last 3 months, and I'm trying to keep the momentum. But I had like a meal delivery service. So I was eating like the same type of stuff every day and working out 6 days a week. Now that I'm here, I'm all like messed up. Plus I had a really narrow diet of what I was eating. So I think I'm getting affected by eating different foods. And yeah, it's been a little challenge. And then counting calories is a little bit harder here because you don't exactly know how many calories things have. So I'm trying to be careful about that. I'm hearing there are a lot more USA folks in town now. Hopefully good people. Probably not, to be honest. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So the people attracted to come into Africa and Kenya, I'm sorry, Kenyans, I don't think you're getting our best in general. Are you now full-time in Kenya? No, I'm back and forth. I'm trying to do every 3 months, but I'll definitely be in the States for the summer, June, July, August. I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm here till at least March, and staying more than 3 months at a time could be hard. I'm actually getting a whole bunch of messages from the States for my real estate brokerage there. So it's a little bit hard to be that away that long, but we'll see. Not stop eating and juice. Oh man, I don't know about all that. That is not what I meant. The juicing of certain superfoods will add. Oh, okay. Kale, beet juice. I can't do it, dog. I can't be drinking that green stuff. Ugh, ugh. There's some indication that the government are addressing the issue by ensuring that professionals are enabled. The illegal construction would be held individually. That's good. Like, why aren't they putting out who the developers are? Why aren't they putting out who the people for the South Sea development that messed up? No one got arrested. What's going on? Probably not. I'm trying to be optimistic. Yeah. Thought of getting a K permit. I would do an N before K. K is more expensive. And there's no benefit. I know it's like an investor permit, but N is cheaper, so I don't know why you would get a K, to be honest. But talk to FKC Legal. Maybe there's a reason, but I've talked to them about it quite a bit. I don't think there is a good reason to get it. Are you looking into getting a longer term visa? Yeah, I'm looking at doing some residency. I was thinking about, settling down, but player for life. It's no good. Oh man. I really tried. I'm tired of trying. Can't do it. So here we go. K permit is ordinary resident permit and sometimes called retirement. Yeah, I think the N's still easier than the K. I'm sorry. I was thinking K was the investor one. A lot of people, I do know some people that have done K. That one's not bad. Welcome to the truth. I did a live talking about Westerner black fatigue abroad. It's not just people going to Kenya. It's everywhere I travel. People messed up running away. Oh, bro. And I don't, because I'm a black American. So I don't want to be too harsh, but you don't see me hanging around. You see me hanging around one person. I'm fine with investing. I don't think this really, I think the poor system applies to everything, but I think when you want to be a long-term developer and you want to make money, I don't think you make money by building buildings that fall down. So they have an interest in building buildings that don't fall down. And if you have a history of building buildings that don't fall down, I feel more and more confident each time that you probably won't build a building that falls down, because if you are known to build buildings that falls down, you probably won't sell buildings anymore. So that's, you have to take a common sense approach. And a little bit earlier, I was talking about some of the ways that that I approach buying things. So you got to go back to, I don't feel like saying all that again. Same weirdos attracted to going to Colombia, DR, yep, all them places tend to just avoid other foreigners for the most part. Yeah. See, when people come to America, it's usually really hard, especially now, obviously. So the US is getting like exceptional people that are able to overcome so many things. So when any foreigners, Indians, Nigerians, people from South America, wherever they're coming from, they're usually like really talented or good, hardworking people, especially if they're coming in legally, right? So they're always at the top of like being successful in the country because it's like a filter where we're getting the best people. When our people are going places, you're getting like the lower people that are failing in the US and trying to go somewhere else and not fail. Plus there's this African romanticism where you get these delusional people that are, I try not to go too hard on them, but there's a lot of weird ideologies and mentalities that I just really don't agree with, and I think it's embarrassing. I don't know, but to each their own, you know. Best Buy in gated communities. Hey, what is happening on here? You got to go back. We covered a panel about the building collapses. So I'll update this thumbnail and stuff. Also, guys, go to the live page and subscribe if you actually like the lives, because that's where all the clips are going and that's where the lives are going. I am simul streaming or whatever, going to both, but I don't know if I'll always be able to do that. So Black American women have been an asset. I saw one who's studying now in Nairobi, opening up businesses. Okay. How is Kenya, bro? Hope everything is fine. How it feels traveling this time? Definitely feels like home because I haven't gone anywhere, but I've been down and out from diet and travel, jet lag, and I'm dealing with some. See, I was trying to be a nice young gentleman and settle down, and now I'm having to deal with something. So, crispy Adidas shirt, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It was getting a little small on me till I had to lose all that weight. I saw the latest Web Nation relocation video. It's amazing how little some Americans know of Africa. The fiance of the person who relocated kept water. Yes. And that's why scamming is so talked about, because people are just coming here doing anything. And they're coming with, a lot of people are coming here with no skills. Then all of a sudden they want to open a business. They've never done a business before. And you guys heard this whole spiel. It drives me crazy because it's hard. There's more opportunity here. It's wide open. So in some senses, it's easier, but because you're a foreigner and you don't know the language, you don't know how the systems work, you don't know the culture, it's like, there's a lot of things against you. And if you haven't done serious business before, it's not, and then they resort to scamming and trying to be a content creator. I was going to make a video about that. Like, people come here and just try to be a content creator. I mean, me too, you can criticize me. I didn't the first time I came to Kenya, I never did any content. I just so happened to record a video and it got a lot of views because I've been on YouTube since like 2015 or 2016 about real estate. If you go back on my channel, you'll see like the stuff I was doing back in the day. It's still on there. You just have to go through it. I was tried to do a daily vlog when that was big about like looking at houses and stuff. And the house flips are actually some of the properties that we flipped and I've since sold are on there. Dang, where was I going with this? Oh, you got to have skills, you know, like people are coming here and they don't know what's going on. Will you and Traverse do a live together? Yeah, I've just been I haven't done anything since I've been here. I would like to talk to her again. I saw she had a video actually about getting, I don't know if it was semaglutide or trizepatide shots at the hospital. I thought that was interesting because it's something I'm a big advocate for lately. But yeah, Kia's awesome and I'd love to talk to her some more. But we already did the live. I don't know. Like, we need a topic. I'm in Northern Ontario, Canada. These winters are, yeah, bro. I can't do it. To be clear, there's plenty of black men doing great things all through Africa. Very few create content, though. Sadly, guys with little to no skills make content. Their only skill. Oh, that was us. I just put the video out and it did well, and then I did another one and it did well, and I kind of just wanted to expose people to what I'm seeing, and people started saying that they're getting value out of the content, and that's how we got here, you know. Traverse agent, what? Back in the day, I'm not a kid anymore. Back in the, I wish, what? Okay. Okay. All right, guys. That's going to be it. Glad to hang out with you guys. You need to know skill. Okay. It's been fun. It's been real. I'm going to get to work as soon as possible, just trying to get my routine, my bearings, my health together. And I appreciate everybody. I'll see you guys later. Peace.